Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Barker and today I'm going to be talking about the video game concept that I've made called Days Gone By. Basically, as the introduction says, I'm going to be talking about the game that I've made and basically what's gone on, the logistics, etc. behind the game. So the storyline, character design, rec reports, etc., everything that comes along with the game. And hopefully I hope that you see the potential that is with the game that I've the game concept that I've created. So obviously the introduction to the game, and it's basically what the game is going to be about. So it's a normal day that turns chaotic, and the undead begin to roam, and then the main protagonist, which is Nick, Nick Long to be specific, and he's fighting for survival. And it's essentially how he will overcome this huge obstacle and what he will do to survive. It's only a matter of time before the undead prevail. So obviously you get a short little snippet of what is to come. So everyone can make their own judgment from that. People might think that one thing will happen, whereas someone else will think something different. And that is a really big part of the introduction itself. So that's sort of what I'll go on the back as the blurb, if you will. And so someone can read that and think, oh, you know what, I like this game, I like the sound of it, or I don't like it. So it's each to their own, basically. Detailed game narrative. So obviously you've just seen the introduction to the game. This is now the detailed game narrative, and we're going to talk about a little bit more in detail about what happens. So we see Nick Long and how he adapts to the change of the environment he's in. So obviously it was a normal day, and everything was fine. There was not a problem. And then one day we saw that it all went chaotic, and so he just needs to try and get past everything that happens, whether that be people, whether that be the undead, and how he will then try and survive in the world, essentially. There's a lot of inspiration that comes to mind. One of which is 28 Days Later, and another being The Last of Us. Both look at different aspects of the apocalyptic world, which sort of appeals to me because we see that they have different takes. You can take how, I don't know how to word it, but you can sort of take. You can look at both aspects and you can say, oh, I like this bit, but I don't like this bit. So then you can combine those together with something else, and they both have really good stories behind them, which obviously is a game. The storylines in the big part of it. So if you've got a good story, then it's going to draw more people. Because if it's a single player game and the story's not good, then you're not going to have a lot of customers. The protagonist, as we previously talked about, Nick Long. These are sort of concept ideas that I sort of what I'd like him to look like. Sort of the traveller and the wanderer. More the bottom one's more as he's more kitted up and he's more stocked up. So that's one idea where he could look like, where he's more of a heavy on guns, gung ho, whereas the top picture is more probably what I think would be more suitable for the environment, where it's more stealthy and it's trying to keep as quiet as possible, because obviously we know shooting will attract them, like the undead. So you don't really want to shoot as much. So I think the top one would be the better option for what our protagonist Nick could look like. Furthermore, updates, expansions and future improvements. So this is what I was more thinking towards, weekly and monthly updates. So the weekly updates would be tiny things in the game, and maybe bugs that need fixing. I doubt there will be. I really don't think that the bugs will be necessary to be updated unless there's something groundbreaking that really needs changing. And then updates for monthly updates, they'll be bigger. There'll be work done throughout the month, obviously, and then they'll roll out every month, and then people maybe can add to them I say, for example, what I mean by that is if there's a bug, the community can say about it, and then I'm like, yeah, this is wrong with the game. Can you fix it? And it might take longer than a week, so it could be work done throughout the month, and then as soon as possible that'll be fixed. Also, DLC, so expansions, hopefully to get them out. For example, if the players have completed the campaign, they can then get the additional DLC. So I was thinking with that would be maybe sort of like a background. So for the console or the desktop that they're playing on, they'll get a background for completing that you can only get for completing the game. As well as that, maybe an extra chapter, campaign, mission, etc., that may come sort of like with other games. So then they get another experience of the game, which would be good. Here's some sort of concept art that I've created. So as you can see in the top left, that's sort of like over the top of a cliff where you'd be looking down. So maybe Nick's on the top of the cliff, and this is where he needs to walk. This is the journey that he's going to be taking next. And then just to the right of that is an example of sort of one of the enemies that you may encounter. So you can see that they're quite heavy, they're quite built, so they're going to be quite hard to defeat. And then on the right is maybe, it depends how you take it. It could be like the armour that you acquire, sort of. Maybe you adjust it slightly, so that may be suitable for a certain environment, or it may be just really strong and durable, so it's harder to be attacked by the zombies, so the undead, the zombies, so you can't really die as easily as compared to maybe you just open flesh like we saw earlier on. And then the bottom two pictures are examples of a zombie and an environment that you could be in. So I can see the flames as fire, so it's you're not be able to cross that path, so you're going to get past it. And then the buildings, the sky, just stereotypical apocalyptic environment, to be honest with you. And then the basic user instructions. This is basically the manual that comes with any game. You'll see the manual that. You'll see the manual, and so in the manual it's just basically the instructions that comes with it, and so we can see the controls and whatnot, how to play the game. And this is just really essential for anyone who's trying to play the game, because they don't want to spend hours on end trying to learn the basic controls, because then that'll prolong the experience, and obviously you don't want to do that. You want to get into the game as quick as possible. The target audience for this game is mostly it's for teenagers of the male demographic. I feel this would be more suitable because obviously males are more attracted to this sort of game. Obviously we see with like the Left 4 Dead series, etc., that it's more aimed at that demographic, whereas females don't play it as much. Obviously females can still play it, and it's obviously going to appeal to some females, but obviously to most, not necessarily. So obviously with the budget analysis, this basically means like what you've got to spend. We can see in the bottom right corner, on the right hand side, we have examples of budget analysis, and it just lists what we got to spend, what it's been spent on, etc., etc. Basically, so we know how to manage our money better. As we can see in the bottom right hand corner, we have got the different peripherals that we'll need, so a monitor, mic, webcam, computer, speakers, mouse, keyboard, and that equates to £870. And we need to make sure that we don't go over a certain amount, because if we do, then we're losing money rather than making money. As well as the peripherals, we need the software, and if we're using a game engine, which we will be, I think Unity would be the best option, and that is free, so we won't have to spend money on that. As well as like other free programs such as Audacity, which would be used as well. However, we need to plan for when we need to pay for it, which wouldn't be too much if we pay for it all at once. So I feel like a budget of maybe £1,500 would be fine for that, and that'll cover the monthly cost until we then need to further expand. But other than that, that budget would be fine, unless maybe more things need to come up. So maybe we might need to plan for a contingency fund, which would then cover the cost of anything that comes up. So let's just say something breaks, then we've got something to pay for that, etc. So just so we know we've got money in the bank just to pay for it in case something breaks. Game flow diagrams. This is essentially sort of like a chart or a flow chart of how the game will play. So obviously you can see start and then yes, no to are you infected, and it's basically just a very simple run through of the story of the game in the basic way, like the most basic way possible. So with my game, I've decided that it starts, are you infected? So this is referred to Nick Long. Are you infected? Yes, no. No, get to safety, yes, say goodbye to everybody, blah, blah, blah. And so I just feel like this is the the most basic, simple breakdown of the game. So if maybe you can't adapt to the way I've wrote the story or how I've aimed to get the story across, maybe you can read this and break it down for yourself, and then maybe we can make changes to the way the story is based on this game flow diagram, because this is essentially the way that I wanted the game to flow. So maybe the story isn't necessarily like this, but we can adapt it based on the game flow diagram. A recce report. So this is basically assessing all of the dangers and whatnot. So, pardon me. It's like not the danger, sorry, like the conditions that are best for you, as it says here. So maybe you're assessing a woodland area. It's good because it's camouflaged, blah 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 blah. However, it wouldn't be good for having a sunbathe because obviously it's shaded. This has no relation to the game, obviously, but it's just an analogy. So in this example, we can see that the recce report says the woodland is scary and dark, which creates an atmosphere of danger. However, it's too stereotypical, so it's been done a lot. So maybe you want which outweighs the other. If you're being chased by a zombie, do you want to be doing it in an open field or in the woodlands? Because which is going to be more suitable, which is going to make the player feel more revealing like than the other. The risk assessment. This is basically assessing the risks, which I mentioned earlier by accident. The risk assessment is essentially, is it safe? So we'll look at the environment that you're going to be working in and whatnot, and assess that it's safe. Is anything going to get damaged? So in the bottom right corner you can see it says lose files stored on the computer. So this might happen because your computer crashes. So how is that backed up? What's the likelihood of that happening? And how is it going to be prevented? So basically the way to get around this would be if it was stored on USB. So every now and then you regularly save it on a USB or some sort of hard drive. So then it's portable, you can put it on any computer you want. So let's just say one computer breaks or crashes, you've still got all the work, you've not lost anything, and therefore obviously you can still carry on working, because the longer you're out of work, then the less chance of something being completed, and then deadlines are being pushed back, and then everyone's losing money then, which is obviously not what you want. So it also says about the probability of the risk, low, high, medium. If it's a low probability, then it's something that's not to worry about as much, where if it's a high probability, then it's something that needs to be monitored like continuously, and you need to focus more on the highs rather than the lows, but you don't want to forget about the lows. But more often than not, there's going to be a lot of lows and there's going to be not many highs. The SWOT analysis, this is basically assessing the strengths, weaknesses, options and threats for the game and whatnot. So strengths, maybe you've got a very good programmer, whereas you've not got a good graphic designer. And then opportunity might be, we've got the funds to get a good graphic designer, but the threat might be there's also a very good graphic designer for another game, which will then show that their game looks so much more crisp than ours, and then that might appeal to some people. So it's basically about assessing what we can do about the game and how we can sort of make it better, but also as well like pointing at ourselves and saying what can we do better. the system requirements of the game. I feel it'd be well, first and foremost, system requirements is obviously the bare bones, the bare minimum that you need to actually play the game. So I'm feeling that to play the game, it would be best if the recommended settings would be very, very minimum. NVIDIA GTX 660 or AMD Radeon HD 7870, sorry, 7870 equivalent DX. Like basically, you can read it, and this I feel would be the most suitable, as this would be the most suitable, as it's like it's not high end, so there's like it's very open. A lot of people can play it. There's an open gate. It's like to a lot of people, because if it's you needing GTX 1080s and whatnot, then not many people are going to be able to play it, which then won't appeal to many people. We're not going to like have as many sales, and therefore it's just not going to be as much. It's not going to be enjoyable for a lot of people. Troubleshooting and help support. This is obviously how are people going to get back to us about the game? How are we going to tell them the game's not working, the game's broken, etc, etc. There's a lot of ways that we can do this. There's Twitter, obviously they can file a complaint on Twitter, they can email us. There's on Steam as well, because hopefully the game will then be placed on Steam, and then can review the game on Steam and file a complaint and whatnot. And then we'll get back to them about the game, and then we'll say, oh yeah, we'll fix this for you and whatnot. So essentially it's just how we're going to help the community, and we're going to reply to the community about the inquiries and the queries they have about the game, and basically how they want the game changing, which was mentioned earlier on. And finally, thank you very much for listening and watching this presentation. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you can see the potential that there is with this game.